1. We admitted we were powerless over our emotions, that our lives had become unmanageable. Powerless. When we first came to Emotions Anonymous and heard people say they were powerless, many of us rebelled. Certainly we were not powerless. We may have refused to say powerless because we disliked the idea of powerlessness so much. We may have felt frightened or threatened by this idea. Perhaps you too are uncertain as to whether you are really powerless over your emotions. Look at some of these descriptions of how powerlessness affected many of us and see if any apply to you. We were unable to start or stop an emotion. We felt helpless and, perhaps, hopeless. We could not get well by ourselves no matter how hard we tried. We tried analyzing, but it did not work. We were not able to change by using just our willpower. We were not self-sufficient, no matter how much we wanted to be. We needed other people. We were powerless over our feelings, positive and negative. Do you ever become angry with someone and try to make that anger go away by using logic and reason? Do you ever feel guilty about something and try to rationalize it away? Do you ever feel lonely even with many people in your life? Have you ever felt afraid when reason said there was nothing to fear? Do you ever say or think, why does everything have to happen to me? If so, you are, we believe, powerless over your emotions. Our acceptance of powerlessness does not mean we are bad or lack responsibility in other areas of our lives. It means our emotions are causing our behaviors to be other than what we would like. When we come to realize we are powerless, we can then look for a new direction and begin to change. We can see our limitations and acknowledge the reality of our lives. Unmanageable. Are our lives truly unmanageable? We ask ourselves if any of these statements apply to us. The more we try to control our behavior, the more out of control we become. We think the people around us make life unmanageable, but the more we try to change others, the more unmanageable our lives become. We are powerless over other people and cannot change them. We are oversensitive and touchy about what others say. In our self-centeredness, we take the everyday occurrences and actions of other people too personally and too seriously. We do not talk to others because we are sure they would want to talk to us. We are unable to accomplish ordinary tasks. We have so many problems in our lives we do not know where to begin. We feel different and alone. Our lives become unmanageable for a variety of reasons. Loneliness, shame, insecurity, shyness, or low self-esteem are often among them. Other factors may include fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not belonging, fear of being different, feelings of inadequacy, rejection of self, self-centeredness, self-denial, or fear of involvement. We may be experiencing life through a haze of hostility and resentment because of past traumas. Many symptoms can indicate that our lives are unmanageable. Often physical and psychosomatic illnesses are symptoms. These can include ulcers, stomach pains, headaches, hypertension, skin disorders, heart and circulatory irregularities, urinary and intestinal disorders, or back, muscle, and joint complaints. Of course, all physical symptoms should be evaluated medically, but if no medical reason is found, we must suspect an emotional basis and start looking for the cause. Compulsive perfectionism can be another symptom. If we cannot do something perfectly, we consider ourselves failures. We may react by becoming passive. We sit back and accept whatever others do or say. We may not be happy doing this and probably begin to storm on the inside, but we are not capable of or we fear asserting ourselves in various situations. This can lead to aggression in areas where we feel more in control. For example, if we have difficulty with coworkers or employers, we may come home and take out our frustrations on family members. Another way of reacting to our perfectionism is by rejecting whatever others do. Nothing anyone else does or says is acceptable to us. We criticize everything and, as a result, our relationships with those around us become filled with emotional upheaval. We may be nervous and panicky or suffer from depression or anxiety. We may be accident prone. We may fantasize about how wonderful life will be when things change. We probably worry a great deal, have trouble sleeping, withdraw from others, become irritable, and perhaps even abuse those we love. We may even feel others are talking about us, watching our every move, or are out to get us. Abnormal rage and temper tantrums are often symptoms that make us realize something is very wrong. We may be destructive, violent, or even homicidal. We may feel suicidal and may even attempt suicide. For many in EA, these extremes of emotion made us realize that our lives were unmanageable. Some of us do not have clear-cut psychological problems, but we are living in a way that does not produce much happiness. We are often apathetic. We procrastinate and act phony. We often are judgmental and criticize others because it seems to make us feel better about ourselves, yet we may also let others walk all over us. We seldom say no to requests and often take on too much. We may be filled with feelings of self-pity, resentment, anger, jealousy, envy, greed, intolerance, impatience, selfishness, or any of the many other feelings which are characteristic of unmanageable lives. Some of us try to rationalize our feelings away. We also may try various ways to escape from our feelings. Some escapes are pills, alcohol, food, unhealthy sexual activity, gambling, shopping, or work. We may focus on needing to rescue others from their problems. Even talking, silence, sleep, reading, exercise, travel, or going to school may become an escape when used to excess. We may be a television or movie addict who lets the rest of the world go by. Anything used to excess can interfere with having a balanced life and prevent us from facing and dealing with our pain. When our particular escape does not work, we look elsewhere for the help we so desperately need. In turning to EA and the 12 steps as a possible answer, we are admitting we have hit our emotional bottom. This is different for each person. For some it means life is uncomfortable and we are looking for a way to be happy. Some of us reach the depths of despair and may need treatment by a mental health professional, medication, or hospitalization. Still others come to Emotions Anonymous in an effort to help another person, but once there, realize we also need help. One thing we all have in common is that this emotional bottom is where we decide we want to do something today to change our life. We are sick and tired of our old ways. We are tired of being the way we are. We realize our life will remain unmanageable if we do not change. Admitting we cannot manage our lives is not easy. It is not easy to admit our self-centeredness, self-pity, and resentments. It is difficult to stop blaming others for the way we are and the way we behave. We say, if my spouse were different, or if it weren't for my children, my parents, my in-laws, my boss, my job, my neighbors, my house, my car, the climate, anything or anybody, I wouldn't be like this. Through step 1 we begin to learn to accept our emotions as they are and not allow them to control our behavior. As we learn to accept our emotions, we are better able to manage our lives. We can make conscious choices in response to our emotions rather than just reacting and having our emotions manage us. We begin to take responsibility for our lives, regardless of who or what may have influenced us in the past. This first step is one of honesty and humility. Admitting our human limitations frees us from hiding our imperfections from ourselves and others, thus allowing us to face the reality of our situation. At first, step 1 may seem a step of despair, but we learn there is hope. We find we are not alone, there is help. In step 2 we find the strength to restore our health as we begin to rely on spiritual guidance, and our hope grows. Step 2.